Max. How are you?
Hi, Rachel. I'm fine. How are you?
Doing great. So to start, this movie is really just like a a duo, and you're just stuck with these two girls on this journey and literally stuck in one case underneath the ocean. But for you as a director, how do you kind of keep that tension and that the drive that these two characters have to have in order to carry this movie when it is just two actors and not that many set pieces and just kind of like one situation?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I mean, it was actually it's one of the reasons I think I wanted to do this film because of course it's a big challenge to do a film in such a confined space with only two actresses, and it's like a it's a survival thriller, but also it's super intimate. And yeah, I think what I tried is to make it as emotional as possible and to give the opportunity to relate to the characters as soon as possible and as much as possible, but to still keep the edge of the seat survival thrills like going. And yeah, I think that's what I tried at least.
Well, and it works. And there's one shot. I'm terrified of sharks. Like that is my biggest fear in this world is a shark. And there is one shot in this movie where I was like, oh, I can't look at this. A shark's going to appear and be staring at her, which is not what this movie is, but because they're in the ocean, it's just where my brain went. But you do things where you hide things kind of in the shadow of the ocean because it is a dark and terrifying place, and one character is just trapped there by herself. Was that something you wanted to play with? Like having this character just sitting in this darkness for so long and she can't do anything to save herself?
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the things, the film is a remake from a Swedish film called
Mm.
Breaking Surface. And the original is great, but it didn't stay with the sister who was underwater stuck at all. So I thought, okay, how would it be if I, show what she's experienced? And then I came up with the idea of this whole stream of consciousness thing. And I thought, well, this is so interesting. What would you do? And how, then all this came up with controlling your breath and controlling your thoughts to don't so you don't lose so much air. And yeah, it's like I don't know, it has to do something with meditation and diving into your own subconsciousness and all those, I don't know, this psychedelic elements of
Mm-hmm.
that I liked a lot, and it attracted me a lot to the project. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's very cool. And I do like the contrast of like the sister who is then frantic and not
Yeah.
doing like any calming kind of thing because she is so frantic trying to save her sister. Um, so at one point it is very funny when the car falls and she just like throws her hands up. Was that meant to kind of be like the lighter moments of like her freak out being relatable in comparison to like the very calming
Yes.
thought process of a sister trapped under the ocean?
Yes, of course. I mean, this is like, what you're looking for, like those rhythm changes.
Yeah.
And and of course, this scene was I'm a big fan of comic reliefs. Like I think, in the darkest stuff, there's is always a room for humor. And I thought, okay, where is the humor here? Where can I do it? Okay, this is the one scene. And we did like, I don't know, 20 takes, like improvised takes, how she reacts to the car. And yeah. So we did like the craziest like curses and celebrations and everything. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, I loved it because it was just like I understood it. Like she's like, I can't do this. Everything is not working as I'm frantic. But with this too, it is kind of it's very beautiful, like the imagery of like being under the ocean and then you just see her kind of swimming to the top or like the light reflecting down. When you're working with the mechanics of that, like how I'm assuming you used a tank, but how exactly do you kind of like navigate bringing those beautiful moments to life with like all like with a camera? Like how do you
Yeah.
kind of like map it out?
Well, it was very easy because it was not shot in the tank. This is all shot in the ocean. And and that's why it looks so beautiful. There's no chance to do this in a tank, those shots. I mean, you can with like with like a big CGI budget, but this is a really low budget film. So the only chance, to compete with those, these super extreme images everybody's used to was like, okay, we really shoot it in the ocean. And yeah, so that's why it looks beautiful, because the ocean is beautiful. The underwater world is stunning and breathtaking.
So you guys went full Jaws. You were like, we're just gonna film this in the ocean. Go for it.
Yeah, that was the concept of it. That was the idea.
That's so cool though. I mean, I would personally be terrified because I'm team get us out of the ocean, but I do think it's so cool to kind of use something that we all know is beautiful to our advantage in that case. Did you guys have to like change anything? Because the great part that they're like walking on to dive into the ocean is so fun to me because I've never seen that before. But like how did you guys find a cove like this and also like make it so it is just like meant for like a diving? Was all of that there for you, or did you guys kind of build it?
Well, you mean the jetty they're walking on, or you
Yeah,
mean?
the like the grate that she like climbs back up on.
Yeah, well, the jetty actually we built. That's
Okay.
true. Yeah. So the location is of course real. It is a remote spot. There is nothing there. We just there's almost no VFX in it. We just removed a few boats here and there, and yeah, and the whole underwater locations. We just found location scouting in Malta, and we like put it all together in different spots. So but actually it's pretty, all this, the cave, and when they're diving through this canyon, so to say, this is all one beautiful underwater cave in Malta. It's all real.
So was the cave that they like kind of come up to decompress in, was that underwater or was that not
This was
underwater?
no, this was in a tank. This was in a
Okay.
tank. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was like, I would have an anxiety attack underwater for like a scene with like the water here. That it is so beautiful though. Like I fully would have just been like, no, that's 100% just the ocean now. Everything's the ocean. But
Every-
what for a last quick question, what for you though was like the most challenging aspect of that then? Because you are working with the elements instead of
yeah.
having kind of control over what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, filmmaking is difficult enough, but to shoot a film underwater is crazy. I mean, there's so many obstacles and so many things you can fuck up. I mean, I don't know where to start. I mean, you're completely dependent on the weather, for example, when you shoot in the ocean, and you really have to be super flexible to move the locations on the spot. In the morning, you check the weather, with all the captains from the boats who are super experts. And then one really, really difficult thing is the communication, because it never really works. We have different systems to communicate, but they all crashed. And then, in the end, it's just hand signs. And, we had like storyboards, which we could bring underwater, like waterproof storyboards, and could point on them. But yeah, the communication is really hard. So you really have to be very well prepared what you want to shoot underwater, because it's chaos. I know it's chaos, because I was on the boat with a little monitor, and you don't know, and you have like a camera operator, like the cinematographer underwater, and then you have two stunt doubles or actresses, and they just float away, but you can't say who is floating away. You can't like say like get back, but where? There's no orientation. So, and then there's a 3D also. I would say up and down also, right? So yeah, that's what's quite challenging, but also fun, because you are in nature, and you kind of getting, after a few days, or all of us getting a little bit zen and just going with, what happened. And yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to come up from all of the chaos and see the beautiful like landscape in the midst of all of the kind of like overwhelming aspects of this movie. But it is so beautiful. Learning that it was actually filmed in the ocean both it delights me and makes me very nervous. But I love the movie, so thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was a pleasure.
Have a great one.
Thank
Bye.
you.